I offer these abortion updates as talking points for you to use in conversation. Some very positive things have happened this year. The use of ultrasound will cause many abortion-minded women not to kill their child. And yet I know that huge numbers of our population still haven't a clue about what is going on. Even with all the news items about abortion, I read this recently, growing numbers of Americans are alarmed to learn that abortion involves the dismemberment of a child. Well, this has been going on for 44 years. Abortion is called a choice, but somebody dies. This year, the Roe of Roe v. Wade died. Her real name was Norma McCorvey. She never actually had an abortion, but she was used by the lawyers in the case to legalize it. She says that virtually every fact upon which the case was built was a lie, and she swears to that. After working in a Planned Parenthood clinic, she became a Christian and said this, "I think it is safe to say that the entire abortion industry is built on a lie. I am dedicated to spending the rest of my life undoing the law that bears my name. I long for the day that justice will be done and the burden from all these deaths will be removed from my shoulders." In 1973, Roe v. Wade was called an unspeakable tragedy. Nearly 60 million abortions later, it still is. Norma saw the bodies of the aborted babies stacked like cordwood in that Planned Parenthood clinic. That was before they realized how financially valuable they were. Roe v. Wade deformed and perverted our thinking. And with that ruling began the intellectual acceptance of wholesale killing, a low point in humanity and the defining issue of our time. No law can give you the right to do what is wrong. Abortion is an atrocity that changed the whole thought process of our country. My first order of business is this. Sometimes what everybody thinks they know is wrong. In this case, it's a myth. The fabled life of the mother, abortion, exception and excuse. This is almost universally believed, but I think that you will see that it is one of those alternative facts. Some think that without abortion, there would be countless deaths of women. Let me show you some of my sources. Can we have the paper, please, with the quotes? This is Dr. C. Everett Koop, former Surgeon General. He says this, "Protection of the life of the mother as an excuse for an abortion is a smokescreen. In my 36 years in pediatric surgery, I have never known of one instance where the child had to be aborted to save the mother's life." And the next one, please. This is Matt Walsh of The Blaze. As the over 1,000 obstetricians, neonatologists, pediatricians, and midwives who signed the Dublin Declaration have testified, there is never any medical justification for abortion. Now, it may indeed be necessary in some rare circumstances to deliver a baby early in order to save the mother, but the additional step of killing the child is not necessary. And there are two more quotations, I believe. Okay, that's the same one. We have Dr. Anthony Levatino. Okay, I'll read it from my phone. He's a former abortionist, and he explains that none of the abortions he performed to save the life of the mother were actually necessary. He explains, cutting the child to pieces would only have incurred more risk for the mother. It wasn't a necessary step. It never is. And then Matt Walsh says, abortion is never necessary to save a woman's life. Abortion has never saved a life. It is designed instead to preserve the lifestyle of the mother. I'm going to read that again. I want that implanted in your brain. Abortion is designed to preserve the lifestyle of the mother. A baby's life and her mother's life are never in competition. We are never required to choose between the two. And this is important because it paves the way for the equally false thinking that it is the lesser of two evils. And if you believe that, you are then paralyzed as far as doing anything about it. It opens the door to an intellectual assent to killing. A huge component of the abortion industry's success is in the language used. Those who control the language control the thought. Verbal engineering always precedes social engineering. The word choice is brilliant. Who wouldn't want a choice? Mine is not a war on choice. It is a revulsion against killing. Those in power have always used derogatory language to vilify the ones they want to get rid of. This name-calling has been used against Russians, blacks, Native Americans, women, Jews, and the unborn. The unborn we call clumps of cells. In this war against the unborn, truth became a casualty. Word games take lives, and if they can be used to take lives and deny the humanity of the unborn, they can also be used to cover up the fact that abortion is killing. The right to choose is a brilliantly evil choice of words. It allows us to name things without bringing to mind a mental image of what actually happens. Let's get this straight. When an abortionist doctor injects you with poison or dismembers you while you are alive and crushes your skull, that is not health care, that is homicide. If you haven't seen any of the 13 undercover videos where Planned Parenthood is caught selling body parts, I have a couple quotes for you. And I quote, "We don't want to just do a flat fee, say $200 per baby. A per item thing works a little better, just because we can see how much we can get out of it." In another, a medical director discusses how Planned Parenthood does sell fully intact aborted babies. And in the latest one, the 13th, the director admits that babies born alive during abortion procedures are killed. Can we have the Planned Parenthood video, please?
Reproductive care, including birth control and free and postnatal care and cancer screenings. That's why we have to defend Planned Parenthood.
We don't have prenatal care here. Planned Parenthood offers abortion, so they don't offer prenatal care.
That's just abortion.
Yeah.
Planned Parenthood has been around for a long time. They provide all kinds of prenatal and health care screening for women.
No, we don't do prenatal services. I mean, it's called Planned Parenthood. I know it's kind of deceiving.
Planned Parenthood is often the only option for women to get their annual checkup. It provides breast exams, contraception, prenatal care,
We don't offer prenatal care at Planned Parenthood. We specialize in abortion.
Prenatal services. Gone.
We actually don't offer prenatal services. We're not licensed to do so in Oregon or Washington.
I was just asking what kind of services you offer for pregnant women?
Pregnant women?
Yes.
Women who want to continue with the pregnancy?
Yes.
We don't offer services.
Planned Parenthood is about providing federal funds for care like mammograms and cervical cancer screenings and prenatal care.
I was hoping that I could come into Planned Parenthood for a mammogram. Do you guys provide mammograms?
We do not provide mammograms.
Do you have OBGYNs here?
We do not, no.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which is a deceptive name, right?
Or, you know, if you were looking at termination options, we could do that as well.
It's an attack on every preventive health service, every safety net, everything that you care about, whether it's early childhood education, whether it's pap smears, whether it's mammograms, whether it's prenatal care when you're pregnant.
No Planned Parenthood does prenatal care.
Oh, none of them.
That leaves hundreds of thousands of expectant mothers without access to essential prenatal care and treatment. And that is where Planned Parenthood comes in.
What pregnancy services do you offer? We only offer termination services.
You define access to referrals to other hospitals and specialists, and you deny prenatal care.
No, see, we don't see pregnant women as a way of getting prenatal care.
Okay.
We see pregnant women, who are considering other options.
Like what other options? Like what do you see the doctor for?
At this location?
Yes.
So at this location, you guys do patient abortion?
The services that we provide through the federal programs are family planning, cancer screenings, prenatal care.
So if you're choosing to terminate the pregnancy, you would make an appointment at this office. But if you're not terminating the pregnancy, if you're going to continue the pregnancy, then we would refer you out.
So
I don't think you really don't need to see us here at Planned Parenthood.
Okay.
Okay. The greatest threat to Planned Parenthood is the truth. Ephesians 4 helps us here, 4:25. So put away all falsehood and tell your neighbor the truth. And I invite you to do just that, to initiate conversation. We have blocked out what actually happens, causing us as a society to accept the poisoning and or dismembering of a child in the womb of its mother. Every 34 seconds, an unborn baby will die in this nation. Most people are doing nothing about it, and yet it is the greatest tragedy of our time, perhaps even the most serious human rights violation ever. 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust in Germany. Nearly 60 million have died in the abortion Holocaust. We shake our heads in disgust at the German church's tolerance of one Holocaust while ignoring our own tolerance of another. Abortion is not compatible with being a Christian. To let babies live or to kill them, pardon my cynicism, that is some choice, America. Abortion has never been about choice. It's about escaping the consequences of that choice. It's about elimination. It's about destruction. Any vote or plea or argument for choice is a vote or plea or argument for abortion is a plea for the murdering of innocence. A civilized society does not demand the right to kill its most vulnerable. In fact, the true measure of a society is how we treat our children. My definition of abortion is this: stronger people using violent force against weaker, defenseless people and killing them. The most horrific crime, of course, is when parents kill their own children. We often fail to see what grievous harm abortion does to those who perform it and even those who request it. One abortionist doctor has said this: what he wants most to do before he dies is to forget what it feels like to take a life. And I am told that women who have had abortions in many cases can no longer go to the dentist without severe trauma because of the memory of the suction machine. It is important to say that there is no condemnation for anyone who has ever had an abortion or even been involved with the abortion regime. Repentance brings forgiveness. Even current abortion employees are all possible pro-life activists. Well over 200 have left, and they have wonderful testimonies to give. Did you know that at 14 weeks, a baby is fully and completely formed? Everything is perfect, just miniature. That baby, at just a few inches, can grimace, squint, frown, grasp, and possibly even suck his thumb. And his fingerprints are indelibly marked for all time. Can we have, yes, watch this baby as he stretches in the womb. Do we really have the right to say that this child must die? You know, every time I see this, I remember the words of the lawyer in the Roe v. Wade case. Sarah Weddington said, if you could prove that the unborn were human, then yes, it would be the same as murdering a 3-month-old or a 3-year-old. Surely, our choices end where another individual's more fundamental human rights begin. A friend has said that truth begins where denial ends, and perhaps the worst lie is the one we tell ourselves, that there is nothing that we can do about it. As Christians, we are to hate bloodshed. That has to mean that we actively oppose it. Is it necessary to engage? It is. Abortion is a horror that demands a response. To be silent would be to be complicit in abject evil, and not to speak is to speak. And so I would say that it's not enough to agree with me. Rescue those who are sentenced to death. Don't stand back and let them die. That's Proverbs 24:11. Wouldn't it be wonderful if when Roe v. Wade goes down, you could think that you had a small part in it because of your love for justice and your respect for life? I want to show you one of the most moving and accurate and profound descriptions of the abortion industry. This was from Dr. Bernard Nathanson. He ran the largest abortion clinic in the United States and personally performed 75,000. Before his conversion, he was the one who told and sold the lies to the pro-abortion side. I pray that we are stung and seared by his words. It may be that having seen and having come from the depths of depravity, that he could see more clearly than most the sanctity of life. Can we have the Nathanson quote, please? This is it. As I look back across the 25 years separating me from that revolting extravaganza playing itself out on the bodies of pregnant women and their slaughtered babies, I am struck by the uncritical nature of the task we had set for ourselves, by the moral and spiritual vacuum at the core of this fantastic operation, by our unquestioned certainty of the high level of moral rectitude on which we operated. And yet, the thing was so obviously sordid. Why couldn't we make the link between the ethical and the moral, between the shoddy practices and shabby practitioners, the evident greed and callous motives, between the crassness of the enterprise and those involved in it, between all these ethical indicators and the grotesque immorality of the act itself. And so I say, how dare any church sanction choice because they don't want to offend or for any other reason? Or how can any Christian sanction choice? And by contrast, a non-Christian investigative reporter said this: reading the testimony and sifting through the evidence has been brutal. I have wept at my computer. I have said the Our Father sitting at my desk. This is a non-Christian who was forced into doing this because she didn't know what else to do. What she learned was that babies aborted have little hands and little feet, and faces that from the earliest time had expression. She says, I have had a profound sense of the presence of evil in the actions of this abortionist and his staff, and their complete lack of conscience. Most disturbing of all is the banality of the evil in the clinic. They joked and laughed amidst the carnage. Her advice is, and I'm taking it, tell the story and tell the brutal facts. They can change hearts and minds. It's all so simple, really. The unborn is a human being, just like you and me, and that is why it's wrong to kill him. Now for some good news. There is a bright side, and I do have hope that someday the abortion abomination will be overturned, and here's why. The Dred Scott Supreme Court decision was overturned. It was the one that said that blacks have no rights and are not citizens. Other laws have been on the books even longer and have been overturned. We are one out of only 4 nations that allow abortion for any reason. We are one out of only 7 nations that allow abortion after 20 weeks. Brian Fisher of the Human Coalition says that abortion can be ended in America in 1 generation. He urges Christian men to lead the charge, saying that they have the power to stop this silent Holocaust. And of course, the problem is rampant in the church, both in the pulpit and in the pew. The pro-life side have won the intellectual battle due to science, technology, but also because of the dishonesty and hypocrisy of the pro-choice movement. Pro-choice has a long history of deceit. And by the way, Carlos unearthed a Planned Parenthood pamphlet from 1952, and it is stated in there that abortion is the taking of a human life. They've denied that for the last, 70 years. And finally, my last reason for optimism in this is that a young person at the March for Life in DC carried a sign that said, I am the generation that will abolish abortion. May we all be moved to compassionate action by the knowledge of innocents being murdered in our land. You will be blessed by helping to defend the defenseless. Are we not called to witness against the murder of innocents? Our faith compels us to fight against injustice. And these are the slogans. These are my favorite slogans from the March for Life. I don't know if they've been up there for a while, but shall I read them? My body, my choice. A child's body, not a choice. Life begins at conception, it ends at Planned Parenthood. I worked in the abortion industry. I am now pro-life. You can quit. I believe in science. This child is real. Heartbeats detected must be protected. 1/3 of my generation is missing. And quoting Dr. Seuss, a person's a person no matter how small. True feminists protect human life. A child, not a choice. I regret my abortion. I mourn my aborted sibling. I regret lost fatherhood. And this comes from one of our own. A fetus equals a child equals a human being. And my favorite one of all is this. One unplanned pregnancy saved us all. And so we must speak the truth in love, and pro-life is pro-love. I have one, this is kind of a postscript. If I'll ask Carlos to play the video from Senator Lankford of Oklahoma. He's speaking on the Senate floor. Can I just say, please know that last year there was someone here who, in the 80s, started an anti-vivisection movement, and she had no trouble at all getting 500 volunteers. Well, recently she started a pro-life group, and she couldn't find any help at all. So